Welcome to the Conscious Creators Podcast, where we explore the real science of manifestation. We'll take you from mind mastery to self mastery. We'll share the yogic wisdom and its relation to neuroscience. We'll also explore quantum science and its relation to meditation. It's going to be an exciting journey, so if you feel stuck or overwhelmed, this is the right place to be. Get ready to go from the internet to the conscious net because I believe this is going to be a mind bending journey and give you the possibility to unlock your full potential. Welcome again. So, welcome, folks. Today's podcast, I have Nicole Doherty with me. She's a old friend of mine. She in fact did some coaching for me. If you remember that, right? Long time ago. That was 15, I think around 15 years ago. And our podcast, Conscious Creation for Solopreneurs, is all focused on energy. And the whole idea of bringing this together is I want to promote yoga as the technology of consciousness. And you are an expert on yoga. You've been doing yoga for a long, long time. And so that would be a one topic that I would like to touch, how you see it as a technology. And also, I like to teach about like a theory of everything. So I call it technology of consciousness and theory of everything. So a lot of things we might be talking about, but the whole focus is on working with the energy to manifest the life that we want to create. Because we all know ultimately it's all about the energy, what you project. And I love your energy right from the day one that we connected. I believe it was Goda Yoga, right? You were teaching there. I think you were teaching there, and then you became my coach for a while, and our journey began both in Los Angeles. So, welcome, Nicole, and you can take it from here. Talk to us about your yoga journey to High Priestess now.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for inviting me. I was listening to what you said and I thought, oh yeah, I did coach.
Yeah.
I actually forgot. I mean, I knew we had an amazing relationship, but I knew we were doing all sorts of things back then. So that was like 20, yeah, 15, maybe 20 years ago.
50,
I've
yeah,
been
that's a while.
I've been coaching for over, yeah, a decade, so it's at least that long, and I've been teaching yoga for 2 decades. So um, I love how you said yoga as a technology of consciousness. That really stood
Right.
out to me. I wrote that down. And I'd love to speak to that. And I completely agree. I actually call even Reiki a technology of energy and consciousness also. And my journey with yoga actually started really with the death of my father in 2001.
Oh,
So he died. I was working in the corporate field in marketing and advertising in corporate America, graduated from Georgetown, was like going down this path that I thought I was supposed to be going down. Unconsciously, I was kind of going down this path. And when he died, my first thought, was so strange and polarizing, was now I'm free. And I loved my father, but it was like this sense of like, oh, now I get to actually do what I want to do. It was this self-reflective question. And although I was grieving and I loved him, I recognized too that there was also a lot of trauma and past pain. And at that time, I was addicted to alcohol and drugs. And I knew that there was a lot of stuff under the surface.
right.
And the reason why it was also so compelling was his body actually moved through my body. His spirit moved through my body in the
Mhm.
moment of his death, and my arms went up like this, and I thought, my dad just died. And the phone rang within minutes, and they said, your dad just died, and I just knew it. So it was also a spiritual awakening moment, and
Right.
that led me on a massive kind of journey, the heroine's journey, as we like to say, down this path, this road. And yoga was the biggest component of that for
Uh-huh.
me. I was introduced to yoga right away, and it helped me to heal a lot of things, including addiction, including ways that I thought about myself. A lot of my trauma was unearthed through that practice of yoga. And yeah, I just introduced myself and gave myself permission to start to do things I was passionate about,
Right.
because yoga was showing me that there were alternative ways of living that were healthy and around well-being. And
Right.
so for me, initially yoga was very much a physical activity, but as I studied it, I started to understand the koshas and all the layers of the human system, like the multidimensionality of it,
Uh-huh.
which I knew was like the asanas, the physical part. But then what were these energies that I was feeling? What were these emotions I was feeling? What were these thoughts I kept having that were on repeat that weren't so great? And then I'd have my conscious awareness by the end of the practice where I could kind of observe myself. And now I recognize that as like the higher self. And so there were just all these things that I became aware of through that practice. And then about 10 years later, after I just become, oh yes, I became a yoga teacher and then a yoga teacher trainer. And then around 2011, like a whole decade later, I went down to Peru and I had another kind of spiritual awakening with plant medicine work.
Or did you
And
do like ayahuasca?
I did ayahuasca in the jungle with
Ayahuasca. Okay.
shamans, and it
Can you
was,
tell us a little bit about that experience? I'm always curious about that. I've
yeah,
never
it was,
never tried it.
oh, it was completely another spiritual awakening. And it was almost as if I could see. It wasn't as if I could see. I actually saw this. I saw my body. I saw like a mental field of energy. I saw an emotional component. I just saw that there were all these pieces and that we yoke all of them together in this physical body, but that, I was not the mind. I was not my emotions. I was this grander God. I was like God,
Right.
I was this
Uh-huh.
being that was all encompassing, watching from another perspective. And it really flipped my entire world upside down and my perspective on life, death, what we were here for. And it uncovered even more of my trauma. So I got to work on that. But after that, I did have a Kundalini awakening where I took the medicine and this energy started to pulse through my body and it got stronger and stronger like a fire hose and it shot through my spine and I screamed and I stood up and I was like, ah, in the ceremony room, all the shamans came over and they grabbed me and they started doing all these cleansings, but they took my hands and they moved me throughout the space with the healings that they were doing in the space on
Uh-huh.
other people. And that was my introduction to energy work. I didn't know what that was. It was the laying on of hands that we talk about in
Right.
Reiki. And
Uh-huh.
they told me that it was described to me later on. It was translated that, when that happens in the body, all the chakras open, that energy is pure source and it's amazing for healing. And so that became kind of the next layer for me. It went yoga and then Reiki. And
Right.
then through that process, I also became a life coach because there was a lot of mental noise and things I had to transform. And I did that for myself, but we also had a life coach there in the jungle. And she helped us with integration, which I don't think I could have gone through those programs without somebody to help me like that. So now
Uh-huh.
that's one of my specialties. I specialize in integration, especially for things like plant medicine, spiritual awakenings, doing trauma work, inner child work, because you need a coach, you need a guide to really give you
Everybody
perspective
needs a
and
coach,
help.
yeah.
Yeah, because I thought I was just going crazy. Like, did I just go through a cult experience? What just happened? And I needed that help. And she did art therapy with us and other things. So, yeah, so now it's like I look at all of those aspects of yoga as that technology to kind of loop it back to your first description, which was so powerful, it is a technology for transforming your consciousness, let's say your human consciousness, to bridge the gap between the human consciousness
I'm gonna
and
write down my
your
question for
higher
you.
consciousness, your higher self.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's been a fascinating journey. And so my goal, my mission is to really help people with total transformation. How do we address all the multidimensional aspects of our being to heal? Because it's not just the body or just the mind. And that's where I think a lot of science, and you do a lot of quantum work,
Right. Yeah.
it's the marriage of that east and west, and bridging all the pieces of us again, and into that whole view, whole human healing.
Yeah, so when so like when you did the medicine, you get to a certain state, right? Your mind beyond the mind. I would say it goes beyond the mind, right? So do you have ever had those kind of experiences with yoga or meditation? Have you got to that state since then?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I left that path when I had my son, and
Uh-huh.
he's now 8. And so I went and found breath work, actually. And
Oh, okay.
my
Yeah.
teacher was coming from that path as well,
Uh-huh.
and completely left and dedicated himself as well to breath work. And so I learned what is called transformational breath work.
Uh-huh.
And through that process, I was having very similar experiences. And it's hard to say, did the plant medicine journeys give me that, opening of the veil? So now if I can have those experiences, I'm not sure, but that was my path. I have had people come to me and have experiences like plant medicine work without having done plant medicine work, and only knowing what I've told them, and seeing things that were pixelated and in 3D, and almost like HD color TV vision. So
Uh-huh.
I know that you can open up and access that DMT in your body, and even Joe Dispenza's
Right.
work, a lot
You
of that
can.
is
Yeah, with the
that.
breath work. Yeah.
Yeah, so the breath work, I think, is an amazing pathway for people. And it's your breath, so there's a lot less risk. You don't have to go down to the jungle, you don't have to take anything that you're unaware of. There's no real
See,
contraindication.
yeah, yoga has a lot to do with the breath work. In fact, yoga is all about the breath work, right?
Yes.
So years ago, what I had done was uh, I had actually copyrighted some of this breathing exercise. Like Bikram Yoga did that with the exercises with his 26 or some number of those, right? I was motivated at that time to go ahead and I should look back into that. So breathing in a certain mental state, gets control of your mind, and you learn how to use the breath to get beyond that conscious mind and into that unconscious self. So that's I should look it up. I'm gonna have to send that to you one of these days. I'll send you. I think I have a copy somewhere.
Yeah, would love
So I
that.
had created a CD, and in those days, yeah, the physical work was very popular these days, right? So I had created a video with a book and training book and video and all that. A long time ago. That was about 20 years ago. I remember my coach asked me to create that, and then I was selling those, from the webinars and not webinars. In those days, of course, the seminars were there. So I
Yeah,
used to do
yeah.
seminars in the hotels, people over and sell those packages. Yeah, long
Right.
time ago.
Well,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
So how did you? Uh, uh, Tell me about your journey from yoga to the high priestess. So that's the process that you went through now. What was it?
Yeah,
As a
so
shamanic, you do some shamanic work as well, right?
yeah, I do. Yeah. So through the plant medicine work, actually, is when I revealed that concept. I kept hearing, unleash the priestess, unleash the priestess. And for me,
Right, right.
what that meant at the time was to unlock my personal power, to unlock my highest potential. And
Right.
it
Yeah.
led me in a variety of different directions, primarily though to learn rituals, to learn ceremonies. I did obviously end up in the shamanic traditions, which some people might call it neo-shamanic these days, but that was really about soul retrievals and cord cuttings and energy retrievals, different processes, energy extractions that the shamanic practices do. And I learned from my teacher, who was my mentor. His name is Alan Waugh. He just wrote a book called Alchemical Ayahuasca, but he had many
Oh,
teachers too. So he was my mentor and he had a mentor. And so I was learning even like altar practices. Essentially, to me, shamanic practices and priestess work is really connecting back to indigenous wisdoms of connecting to the earth and
right.
providing this beautiful reverence and sacred reciprocity with the planet and the elements, to recognize that we are part of nature, which is actually what yoga also describes. And
Right.
yoga is an ancient indigenous
Right.
wisdom as well. So it's all
Right.
related, very much so. And to me, it was bringing prayer back into my life and reverence into my life, and ensuring that anything that I did had that sacredness to it. And so I would say that was really the key.
Right.
And
Yeah.
combined everything and created a course, which has now actually been renamed from Unleash the Priestess to the Empowered Woman. And
Oh, okay.
it's all the same work. It's just beautiful work. It's shadow work. It's inner child work. It's connecting to love. It's connecting to your confidence, and ultimately being your authentic self and aligning with who you want to be. What is your purpose here on the planet? We're all here for a reason, with
Right.
probably a great gift of service, which is actually why I love my son's school, the Waldorf community, because they talk about how every unique being has a unique gift to offer the world, and what is that we want to foster. And so that's my hope too, is that I empower women to really live their passion and
Uh-huh.
to embody that, and to bring it forward as something that they can offer to humanity, as a service.
Wow. Why we are so tuned in. I was just my next question was what do you feel was your gift? And you
Uh,
already answered that.
yeah.
That was my next question was what your gift. And so what you believe your purpose is, or what is your path and what is your purpose? What do you how do you see that unfolding? Or you are in
Yeah.
that process of unfolding there already?
Yeah, I mean, I feel right now like I'm definitely living my purpose. I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time now, and I love it. I feel like if you have the opportunity to do the things that you love, and you follow your excitement, then
Yeah.
your life unfolds. And the key is getting out of your own way and not resisting the changes that appear, because our life
That's the
is
biggest one. Yeah.
unknown, right? So we can't predict what we're even going to be doing. I never thought I'd be sitting right here, right now with you after so long, and still having that same passion. That's why I know I'm like, I know what I'm doing, and I love it.
Right.
And I'm grateful for that. I'm completely humbled by that. But when my path gets wobbly, it's usually when I get in my own way, when I have limiting thoughts or limiting beliefs. And that's why I have a coach, because I need to somehow step out of my own way and continue to go with the ebbs and the flows that life presents us, because it is always changing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do follow
You
that excitement, and I think that's the key for me anyway. And I feel it's been pretty integral to most of the people I've worked with, is really following that bliss.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the nail on the head because you said like getting out of your own way. I mean, most of us, I mean, and the funny part is the universe, no matter will bring you where you're supposed to be. No matter no matter how hard you try to evade that, you know. I've lost all my hair. I think I had more hair at that time, and and my the rest has turned white, you know. But it forced me to come this way, you know. For years, my grandfather was a great yogi, you know. So the yoga stuff is in my DNA. But I resisted that. I wanted to be a restaurateur. I had nightclubs, restaurants, all that kind of stuff. But I was trying to run away from this, and it kept on bringing me. And then finally, when my daughter, like I mentioned to you, she went through this Corona phase, you know, and she got into depression and struggling with that part of it. That's when there was no other way for me but to, you know, bring myself into this world and, you know, start talking about it, because I realized that it's all about, we create that thing in our head, our consciousness, you know. I mean, we become conscious about your brain, your thoughts, everything between where you are and where you want to be. The only thing that comes in the way is your head, you know. So that's what I've been talking about all the time, that, you know, beyond. And when I got into this personal growth industry, I realized that a lot of people were talking about, uh, you know, the mind and all that, the work doing with that, but mostly all focused on the energy. And I'm a big fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and all that quantum world part of it, you know. But I also realized that to connect with that quantum world or the field of energy or whatever, you got to go through this process of yoga. And what you are doing, I think probably the best part of it is the breath work, because
Mm.
the breath is what connects everything together. And once you get deeper into it, the consciousness and all that aspect of it, you know, I'm really fascinated about the stuff on the other side, you know, and how you can connect with it. There is so much power, so much, uh, and we keep on resisting. We keep on resisting and don't want to go there. It's like pulling the dog on the leash, you know. You see, like doesn't want in the same direction. You have to train your brain, you know, get it to that point, you know. So, what are the, like, typically when your client find you, where do they come from, or what kind of do you work mostly in your neighborhood, or you are mostly on the line?
I'm actually both. And what's interesting is I was all online, of course, as most of us were during
Really?
the pandemic. But so I do have clients in LA and other cities, and I'll do work with them virtually. I do
Yeah.
work sessions virtually. They're breathwork, Reiki, sound healing sessions. I also do workshops and coaching as well online and have programs for that. The in-person stuff, usually people are finding me from
Uh-huh.
yoga classes, and then from there they'll come to my breathwork ceremonies. I do these ceremonial workshops which people love, and then they'll come to me for private breathwork healings, and that work here. I have a studio space, a healing space, and then maybe they'll do coaching and integration work as well. So I do get, people from different walks of life through different pathways. But essentially, yeah, right now breathwork is so popular, and it's really catching on, which I'm so excited about, because it's the second limb, and we
Yeah.
separated everything out, and now it's like, okay, pranayama, the control of the breath and how it moves energy, and really, like you said, accessing that higher self. People are getting a lot out of it. So I did a breathwork training last year here in this area, and we'll continue to probably host that periodically. I don't have a set schedule for it because there's a lot of breathwork facilitators and it's a small space. So just kind of letting everybody get their, you know, chops wet with breathwork first, and then we'll expand as we see needed and fit. So but it's exciting. It's exciting, yeah.
Do you have like retreats? Do you do any retreats, especially to Mount Shasta is right next to you, right?
Yeah, I do. I actually have one scheduled for next October already because the place completely sold out like
Oh, is
all
that right?
weeks of the year. But I've been consistently doing retreats at Mount Shasta. This year it will be in October. It's a women's retreat. We do a lot of rituals, ceremonies, breath work, yoga, all the things we've been talking about, energy work, and it's beautiful, and this place is epic, and we just get to be with the land and explore Mount Shasta, go up to the mountain, do empowerment exercises with staffs. Like, oh, it's so much fun. So yeah, I love it.
Hey, have you ever been to India?
I've never been to India.
Oh,
It is
is that
on
right?
my list.
Okay.
I went
You're
to
gonna,
Nepal for 3 months and taught English there and taught yoga there. But I didn't make it to India. At the time, I thought, I'm going to go to India for a long time. That's always been in the back of my head. I don't know why. And I just haven't been. I just have not been. So now that I have my little son, I'm like, oh, when's that going to happen? But I did get a flavor of it in Nepal, but
yeah.
not fully in India yet.
No, Nepal is actually one of our biggest retreats, the Mount Kailash. We have to go through. It's in China. So
Yeah.
we have to go through Nepal. So I stayed in Nepal for 15 days because you have to acclimate yourself to getting on the Himalayas, right? So the Kailash is one of the Himalayan mountains in Himalayas. And I went, oh my God, I've lived in Oregon, I lived in Alaska, I lived in Chicago, but none of those things would be like the cold that I saw in Himalayas. Oh my God, it was like bone chilling. And I had parkas and all that stuff on there, but it was, and the funny part was they gave you one of those gas propane things with a light that up and put it in your tent. And I said, take it out of here. I'd rather be cold than kick it in the night and then see myself on fire. You don't want to do that. It was so, that, but when you get there, something in you, wakes up. It is amazing that that energy there was really, and makes you realize that, there is so much more to life that we
Oh,
get stuck in our jobs and running after the cars and the houses and all that stuff. And we
oh,
focus so much on the external stuff that your internal stuff doesn't really get the attention that we are looking for.
oh,
So
you're
that was a
perfect.
really amazing journey that if you were in Nepal, you should have gone that part. That Nepal itself actually is a beautiful area. So
It was so beautiful. I call Nepal God's country. Like just looking at the land, it was so
oh
amazing.
yeah.
I did get to do the Annapurna trek up to the top
Uh-huh.
and then back down. We didn't do the full circuit, which would have been 28 days. I think we did 14, I think it was. And it was just like you said. I mean, absolutely epic. And so cold. Yeah, so cold. And,
Yeah, it was.
and then you're dealing with the elements and the elevation and all of that stuff. But wow, I mean, Pokhara is such a cool city and such a beautiful town. So I loved it. I loved everything about it.
3 months is a long time actually for and especially you don't speak the language, because you went to teach the language though.
Yeah, I did a program called the Global Volunteer Network. That's what it was called because I
Oh,
wanted to give
okay.
back and I wanted to also travel. So they did this thing where you could exchange. You'd learn a little bit of the language, enough to just get, your water, the bathroom, and a few other things. And they would teach you that language. They'd place you in a home and you'd live with a family, which I did. I
Oh,
lived with
okay.
a Nepalese family. And in exchange, I would teach English. And what happened, ironically, was I only got to teach one day of the whole program because the Maoist rebellion started to happen where they were
Oh, okay.
they were trying to overthrow the government, or there was just a
Uh-huh.
resistance, and they started to come through the towns. And when I got there, they said there's a curfew. And I thought, what are you talking about, curfew? And they said,
Yeah.
yes, there's a curfew in the towns because we don't want people to be out after dark. We don't know what's going to happen. And I thought, Oh, right. I thought, I'm so safe. Well, it actually happened. The Maoists came through the village I was in and they started beating people up. They were shooting guns. They were doing the whole thing. And after that, I never went out after dark. I had a curfew. They had bus strikes. We couldn't get to the school. That's how I ended up teaching yoga. So remember when you said life will bring you to your path anyway?
Yeah.
I had no idea I was going to be teaching yoga there. Life said, here's what you're going to do here. They asked me, you know yoga? I said, yes. And I thought, of course they know yoga.
Yeah.
Me being a white woman from the United States, I thought everybody knew yoga in the East. They didn't.
No,
They'd never done yoga. And so I took a book that I had with me with all the postures in it. I think it was a David Swenson book. And I brought it to the classroom, which was a renovated church, kind of a service where they would stay. And I just flipped through the book and taught those poses. And that's when I decided I was going to become a yoga teacher because they all got so much out of it. And then I gifted the book. And I still to this day wonder if the man who I gifted the book to still has the book, and if 20 years later the whole village is doing yoga. I don't know, but that would be amazing to know.
yeah, it could. That's typically how it works there, though, is,
Right?
you give them a gift and they cherish it for the rest of the life. People are so grateful there. It's a different world. It's That's one of the big reasons I want to take my daughter to India, because now she's been to India, but she was 14, 15. Those years you don't get anything. But now you start to see that, there is so much. Some people have so little,
Uh,
but yet they are full of joy and they are living happily. And there is so much beyond the iPhones and iPads and the computers and all that stuff. The life
yeah.
beyond that. Sometimes, when you start being appreciative, the gratitude, the energy of gratitude is probably the best. When we talk about law of attraction and all that, so that's the energy of gratitude is what we need to harness that energy.
Oh,
So, and that's why I say the technology of consciousness is that yoga or any kind of work, energy work that you do is going to, we eventually as human beings, we are going to learn how to harness that energy, because we are connected right now through the internet, right? Somebody, there is no wires between us. Somebody went and figured out how to use that. Like Zoom has figured out how to make money out of the energy that's outside of us, right? It's using that IP addresses and all that stuff to connect us. But as human beings, and I say your body and mind is a instrument to harness that energy, and those are the energies that you work with, like with your practices, or when we talk about energy of love, energy of gratitude. All these things can be harnessed to create more, things in your life that you can share with. And that's the part that a lot of people are working with, the quantum science and neuroscience and all kinds of stuff, but they are not looking at themselves that, okay, we know the inner world creates the outer world, but we are
yeah.
not looking inside. We are always looking outside. So uh, that's my whole thing, is like bringing experts like you who have been in the industry for a long time, done this work. You work with the energy, you live that life that you talk and preach about. And that's the whole thing, that your experience, when you share with people get motivated. It People who are on the fence of thinking about, should I do yoga or should I not do yoga, should I try something different, or yoga teacher who might be wanting to do this energy work or stuff like that, you have integrated that stuff together. So that's a great part of it. One question I have for you is, uh, I remember we met long time ago, but now my journey, I'm here, we connected after a long time. How much do you believe of this is destiny versus the free will? Or we created our journey ourselves?
Oh, that's such a great question. Let me tune into that one. I know that we have free will and that we were designed to have that so that we could have this experience and have it be exciting and be able to shift it, mold it, and change it based on our own choices. I do feel like there is an overall theme, which we could call it destiny, that
Uh-huh.
we come into this experience as a human being to experience. And in that theme, it is that hero's journey, or there's something we're here to transform or to heal. And it may not just be one thing, but there is kind of this overarching theme. So, as an example, I tell people this, that one of my themes was to move from like victim consciousness or scarcity consciousness, I might call it powerlessness, to powerful or empowered,
Uh-huh.
or to even abundance consciousness. So that's been a theme of my life. Pretty much in every segment of my life, that's come up. So I've just noticed over time. I mean, I guess that's the wisdom that we get over our years of being on the planet. I go, oh, that's a pattern that I've noticed, that I've
Right.
transformed. And when I go into my limitations, if I slip back into sleep temporarily, it's usually some form of that where I have to recognize, oh, I'm actually powerful. I actually am a powerful person. And so I'm coaching, I can coach myself now around that stuff. But I would say that's
Right.
one of the themes. So that to me would be like some part of my destiny. And the free will were like the choices that I made throughout that time, going back and forth. I don't know that it had to be so windy. If I chose more, let's say, love based options, I might have had a more direct path.
Right. Right.
I do
Yeah.
think that the path was still there. And so it's kind of like maybe for me a little bit of a zigzag path. Um, but that story about like ending up teaching yoga in Nepal, I can't really deny that. Like that was an integral moment to my path, and there's been moments like that. So yeah, so I think it's a combination. And I've even been told, somebody told me once when they did a palm reading, they said, you
Uh-huh.
actually changed your destiny in this lifetime. I had never heard that phrase before. So I was like, oh, can you actually change your destiny? However, I don't know. But yeah, I would say that's my long answer to your short question.
No, I think that's actually a perfect answer. I mean, because everybody explains things in a different way. And that's one of the reasons I ask. It educates me as well, because I come from a very kind of a rigid, because we believe in karma and we believe in the astrology, and we believe that, okay, no, this is what's going to happen to you. Your uncle's going to die on such and such day, and your dad's going to die on such and such day, and this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to get divorced, you're going to have three children, two children. So I mean, this is all and we really believe in that, because you are conditioned to think that way. And then now when I look back, when I lost my hair and the rest has turned white, I believe now that if I knew a lot of this stuff earlier, I could have changed the path. I mean, the path could have been a lot more easier if I would have taken help, if I would have found a right coach, or if I would have followed my coach. And sometimes I didn't follow the coach. Sometimes the coach is saying, go this way, and you go this way because something is pulling you that. But that's your journey. That's your path, and that's where you are getting all your stuff. So, I appreciate hearing your view. That makes me also realize that, yeah, uh, somewhere earlier, all that, you experienced that. And lucky for you that you followed that path. And I think beyond the tribulations or beyond the struggle that we go through, it is very satisfying when you walk your path. Even though you might not have reached the destination, we all will reach the destination. Well, I think the destination is death at the end of it anyway. I mean, that's morbid, but that's what it is. We're not going to take anything with us. We didn't come with anything. So we are going to go empty-handed, just like, the people before us, or, everybody's going to go there. But that spiritual awakening, that understanding, that I think, and I really admire you. And I've been watching you through the Facebook and all that, the work that you've been doing. And I'm sure it's very gratifying that I saw one article. I think you're doing a course. Maybe you can talk a little bit about it, of being a people pleaser.
Yeah, I did. I
That
actually
got
did
my,
a workshop on that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, through my own personal journey with all this work, I was taught shadow work by a friend of mine actually here in Ashland, and she learned it
Uh-huh.
from a woman who was an Indigenous elder, a Native American woman. And if you look at psychology, these terms are also in psychology and Western psychology as well. That people pleaser, rescuer is what she called it. Perpetrator, victim, martyr. So all these behaviors that we, let's say, we might embody for a while when we don't understand that we're out of our own power. So a lot of them are, the structure of them stemmed from early childhood, when we had experiences that caused separation, and then we started to behave in certain ways that weren't authentic. And so that's,
Right.
people pleasing is one of those. Martyrdom is one of those. It's basically a result of feeling like we need external validation. You said earlier, like, if we would just go within instead of going
Right.
externally, we would know that we're empowered. We would know that we're creators. We would know that we are strong, resilient, courageous, all these things. However, if we didn't have good modeling, or I wouldn't even say good or bad, it's just we didn't have the tools. A lot of our parents didn't have those tools. And our kids will say the same thing about us, and so on and so forth, because we're always evolving.
Yeah,
um,
that's true.
yeah, right. So any parent's going to look, let's say, not as evolved as their son, daughter, and so forth. However, um, when we were growing up, there were those incidences where we just didn't recognize how powerful we were, and we sought outside of ourselves. So people pleasing, as an example, is, I want to make other people happy. I want to please them, and I'm doing it because I want to be liked, because I need validation. Some people might rescue others and save them because it helps them to feel good, because they don't feel worthy inside of themselves, or they do it because they need to be in control, because they don't trust that others will be okay.
Right.
There's so many reasons why people might do these things. And it's not to say we're not allowed to caretake or help people or support them. It's just we overstep our own boundaries often to take
Right.
care of others before we take care of ourselves. And I think, we're coming to a place in our consciousness where we're recognizing that we need to take care of ourselves first. We need to love ourselves first. We need to feel empowered first. We need to take personal responsibility first and separate ourselves from the other. And that way we're all like these equal beings that are all equal in the eyes
Right.
of God, supporting each other in our gifts and our talents. But we're not like, in this hierarchical position that we keep placing ourselves in within human consciousness. And that's where all these power struggles are. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and even for myself, I mean, this is something I had struggled with. I could say people pleasing was a life theme of mine also, which
Uh-huh.
is why I teach it, because I felt that way. I grew up in a household that was like, you're good if you get all the grades and you excel at the sports. And that's very normal, right? Performance based love. And if you
Yeah.
didn't do so great, you were punished, or there were consequences, or you were ridiculed, or whatever. So it was either this way or this way. I was like, well, I want to go this way. I want to be liked. I want to be supported. I want to be loved. I
Well,
don't
we
want,
all do. Yeah.
yeah. And we still operate that way in most
Yeah.
of our society, to belong and to be liked and all of that. Facebook, we want likes, we want more likes. And to what degree is that actually supporting the spiritual essence of a person to grow and to expand if they're not being authentic or true to themselves, and they're just becoming a chameleon to everybody around them and not holding who they are and holding their center. So that's a big one. It's such a big one for people right now.
It is, yeah. The way, especially the when you talk about that is the right word, is the validation. We all, I mean, we all have that need, and I mean, even up to really, if you take the best of the best doctors and the coaches and the experts that we talk, you take away the followers or their subscribers, and all of a sudden they shrink down. So that's the whole idea of I go through the same thing with like the theme of fearless living is you are fearless. Doesn't matter whether somebody likes me, I have the followers or don't have. You keep going forward and you keep doing what your stuff is supposed to be. I mean, you spreading that. To me, I have option. I thought about this for a long time, that I can either go and get a whole bunch of clients and make money and focus on that part, or I can share my knowledge with other people, other experts, other coaches, and together we can bring that fragmented knowledge, put it together, and then more people can benefit out of it. So the bigger the impact we can create together. And I think our consciousness is starting to raise to that point of uh, collective consciousness, where we partnering up, sharing stuff with people. I see even the experts in this line of work, like coaching and all that stuff, are coming together and sharing their stuff, sharing that knowledge. And that's it's been a great journey. So, well, I think we have come to the top of the hour and that time. One thing I would like you to mention is, how can the listener find you? Where would we find you? And tell us a little bit about your websites and Facebook handles and all that kind of stuff, so we can
Yeah.
find you.
Okay. Yeah. So you can find me. My website is Nicole Ananda. Ananda means bliss. NicoleAnandaCoaching.com. And you can find all my details there. On Instagram, my handle is Unleash the Priestess. And on
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Facebook, it's my business name, Nicole Ananda Coaching and Healing Arts. So
Oh,
that's
that's
my
neat. Yeah.
Facebook, business Facebook. So yeah, you can find me at all of those. And I really look forward to connecting. I love that you ended with raising ourselves up in this collective consciousness, and I couldn't agree more. It really is about collaboration. So I want to say thank you to you, Raj, for giving me the opportunity to come on here and
Oh, it
speak
was such
to
a
your
pleasure.
audience. Yeah, it's really sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure, and we caught up after a long time, and brought all the memories back from Ashland and Oregon and all that stuff. That you know, one thing we'll have to plan on someday, making a trip to India, or whenever you decide to set up a retreat in India. Let me know. I'll hook you up. I have all the connections there. Okay,
Oh my
so
gosh, I would love it. I would just love to go, So I'll agree.
I'm when I come back, I'm gonna send you some videos or some links for kite flying. I think your son would love that experience. Everybody should love that, have that experience. We have on 14th of January is a winter solstice. So the wind shifts. And so when you are flying the kites are going in one direction at some time, and then around 12:30, 1 o'clock, it turns around and goes in different direction.
Oh,
So
that's
it's a whole experience of energy shift. I mean, obviously, we don't look at it that way. We are more focused on cutting each other's kites. So the string that we use, We use it. It is layered with rice and powdered glass.
Oh,
So
wow.
when it touches it will cut each other's kite. Sometimes your fingers too. So it's like a battle. It's like with your neighbors and everybody's flying millions of kites. Same. I
That
mean, it's
sounds
an amazing
amazing.
experience. I'm really fascinated about that. So I love to go back every time, and I try to go around that time of the year because I'm very passionate about flying kites.
Oh, that's incredible. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I
Someday we'll take
love
your
that.
Yeah, someday we'll take your sons, and they are 9, 10 right now. It's a good time, maybe in a couple of years. So
Yeah. Oh, that's so
thank you so much,
fantastic. Thank
Nicole,
you so much, Raj. It's so great to see you.
and it was a pleasure. Namaste.
Namaste.
Into another enlightening episode of the Conscious Creators podcast. We hope you found inspiration and insights that will empower your life journey. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this podcast to help spread the wisdom so it can reach more seekers of truth and transformation. Your engagement really fuels us. Stay connected with us on social media: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and download our app or join our thriving community. Remember, between where you are and where you want to be, the only thing that comes in the way is your mind. It's all about going from mind mastery to self mastery. Until next time, namaste.